Hi, this is the first video in a series where I'll break down small but useful projects for JavaScript beginners. You can open this coding environment in literally one click right from your browser in the description of this video, so you should open it right now. I want you to look through as we go along so you'll understand exactly what the code's doing. And if at any point you just get curious, just edit the code and see what happens. So this is a simple example. There's a text box, and when I type in the text box, the word count changes. How does it work? In the top left is the HTML code. You need to notice that there's a text area with an ID of text area and a div with an ID of word count. So in the HTML code here, the div is empty, but when the web page is running and loaded, you see the word count there in the div. So how does it work? Well, let's look at the JavaScript. See these constants, text area and word count, they point to the two elements that we just discussed. Now here's a function called countWords, and a string is the input to the function, and the output of the function is of course going to be the number of words in that string. And the way that we define that is whatever we put after the return keyword in the function. So we take this string and we do a few things to it, 3 things actually. The first thing that we do is we trim it. That trim function is kind of optional here. All it does is it takes any spaces from the beginning of the string or the end of the string, and it discounts those, so it removes those. After that is the most important function, and that's split. Split takes a string and it splits it into chunks or pieces divided by that other string. So if I would have a string ABC and I would split it by B, I would get an array with the elements A and C. And of course, we're splitting here by space because we want to take the long string, which is a bunch of text, and divide it into words. And then we just take the length of that array, and there you go. That should be the count of the words. But wait, actually this isn't a great way to do it, because the way I wrote it, there are a couple of bugs. I'm not going to tell you what the bugs are. Try and figure it out for yourself, and if you can figure out what the bugs are, write it in the comments, and maybe even propose a better way to do it. Now the next function is update. And this is the thing that we want to happen every time that the words label needs to get updated. The word count label needs to get updated. So we ideally want this to run as frequently as possible whenever the user is editing the text. What do we do then? Well, we take the text area value, which is the string in the text area. We pass it to the function we just wrote to get the number of words. We concatenate that with a string, word semicolon. That's going to make another string, and we're going to set the inner text of the word count div to that new string. And the reason why we use value for text area and inner text for word count is just that text area is a form field and word count is a div. So then how do we get that function to run every time that the user edits the text area? Well, we're just going to use text area add event listener, which is a really useful JavaScript function. And there's all different types of events, but here, actually, we just need to use input. And fortunately, that's going to fire our function every time that the user types a new character or deletes a character in that text field. One last thing we have to do is we have to just run the update function once. If we don't do that, then when the page first loads, that div that shows the word count is just going to be empty because the user hasn't edited anything in the text area. So what we do is we run that once. It takes the text that's currently inside of there by default, and then it calculates the word count for that and displays it. So that's the example. I hope you learned something. If you enjoyed this, or you got confused, or you found an improvement to my code, please let me know and leave a comment below. Thanks, and see you next time.